A new DMCC, Dubai Multi-Commodities Centre report suggests that the world, and therefore the companies in it, are turning away from globalisation and increasingly towards regionalisation. We want to know what they've been seeing. So we're speaking this morning to the DC, Feryal Ahmadi. Feryal, it's lovely to speak to you.
Thank you, Brandy. Good morning.
So what's your thesis? Why are you noticing this shift now?
So the whole world is going through a profound change. As we can see, geopolitics, macroeconomics, you see tensions between China and the US ramping up, open and serious tensions ongoing in the Middle East and Europe, and about 80 elections that will be run across the world in 2024. That's basically half of the world population going into the polls this year. So all of these events have the tendency to increase protectionism, increase regionalism as well, and they also have the risk to derail the global economic recovery, as we can see. And that's why we see major shifts right now towards regionalization or friendshoring strategies per se, to look at new trade corridors, new blocks, new partnerships and allies like BRICS, for example, to shield nations and countries away from the unpredictability of the international and global scene.
What does that actually look like for the companies that you are closest to those in the DMCC? What are you noticing them do?
So Dubai and the Middle East in particular, it's acting as a corridor basically between East and West. And definitely because of its trade infrastructure, ease of doing business, a friendly tax regulatory environment, we still see a huge influx of companies and businesses coming to set up and operate from Dubai. And the Gulf region in general, due to their abundance of energy reserves and renewable potential, they are very primed to fast track their competitive edge in a lot of areas, especially renewables and sustainability in particular. Dubai, for example, is sitting today as one of the top 10 trading hubs in the world in terms of sustainable technologies. And it is also on the top 10 commodity indexes in the world. That is the top 10 hubs behind the United States and Switzerland in terms of being a global landscape for commodities and commodity trade flows.
Okay, so how are we deliberately doing it? Dubai particularly is usually pretty good at playing a blinder in terms of taking advantage of global shifts. How are we making sure we are at the centre of this one?
So, you see that Dubai is taking headwaves in terms of AI, in terms of digital services, and that is one of the transformative shifts that we will be seeing for the next decade when it comes to trade, which is the rise in digital services underpinned by by AI specifically, and Dubai is pioneering in that specifically. And as I said, sustainability, climate change is on Dubai's top agenda, and the UAE as well, as we saw in COP 28, and the Middle East and the UAE will be pioneering in terms of sustainable and renewable energy in the very near future.
When we talk about things like friendshoring and nearshoring, though, I know you're mentioning digital services there, but I tend to think of very physical services that people place closer to home for their supply chains, things like warehousing and secondary manufacturing sites. Do we at the moment have the capacity to scale up for that? Do we have enough spare space?
Yes, we do. We do have enough spare space, and in terms of friendshoring, bilateral agreements specifically, you see that the UAE has started in the past couple of years looking at CEPA agreements, economic partnership agreements with a number of trade hubs and nations and countries around the world. And this is to build new trade corridors and to reduce barriers and look at new infrastructure development and new trade routes, basically, which is moving away from the globalization era. And we see that the UAE has developed a lot of these new routes in the past number of years.
Do you see, in terms of the companies moving into the DMCC, a rise in those from countries that we have signed those comprehensive economic partnerships with?
So the economic partnership agreements actually, I can say, they complement the UAE's offering when it comes to infrastructure, when it comes to services, and certainly, I mean, the UAE has now hit 24,000 member companies. We have definitely not slowed down. We see on an annual basis between 2,000 to 2,500 to 2,600 companies who join us year on year. We see certain sectors such as precious stones and metals, energy sector, tea and coffee, and some of the other agri-commodities certainly increasing as a result of those CEPA agreements.
What about the countries that the companies you do have with you do business with? Do we see a rise in trade to the CEPA countries?
Absolutely, yes. So we do see a huge rise in India, for example, Vietnam, Israel, and a number of other companies that we have signed CEPA agreements with. And we work very, very closely with the Ministry of Economy and other authorities who are involved in such agreements to ensure that we cover the critical sectors to the UAE to enable those trade flows either through Dubai or through other UAE and Emirates within Dubai.
Thank you so much for joining us this morning. The COO of the DMCC, the Dubai Multi-Commodities Centre, the Free Zone, Feryal Ahmadi, speaking to us about a new report suggesting that they are seeing a shift toward more regionality rather than globalisation.